The wind whipped through the tall grasses, carrying the scent of rain and distant smoke. The lone archer stood on the ridge, her silhouette stark against the approaching dusk. Her hand rested lightly on the worn leather of her bow, her eyes scanning the horizon. This was her territory, her responsibility. Every rustle of leaves, every cry of a distant bird held meaning for her. She knew this land like the back of her hand. Each shadow, each twist in the path held no secrets. Yet a weight settled in her heart. It was a loneliness that stretched back to the very beginning of her watch, a longing for something more than the solitude of her vigil. The setting sun cast long shadows, painting the world in hues of orange and purple. She had seen countless sunrises and sunsets from this very spot, each one a reminder of the relentless passage of time, of the ever-present threat that lurked beyond the horizon. She was but one person, alone with her thoughts and her bow. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Fingers traced the familiar curve of her bow. It was a simple weapon, crafted of wood and sinew, a gift from her father. It had served her well, its accuracy a testament to her skill and years of practice. But the world beyond her hill was changing. She had heard whispers on the wind, tales of strange and powerful weapons, of machines that spat fire and metal, of warriors clad in armor that glittered like the stars themselves. What good was her simple bow against such might? Doubt gnawed at her resolve. Was she foolish to cling to the old ways, to the traditions passed down through generations? Was she a relic of a bygone era, clinging to a past that no longer served her? She yearned for the comfort of certainty, for the confidence that she was enough. But the world whispered its doubts, and she couldn't completely silence them. Over time, visitors began to appear on the horizon. Some came bearing arms, their faces hardened by battle, their intentions unclear. Their arrival would send a shiver down her spine, her hand instinctively reaching for the arrow quiver at her side. She would watch them from afar, her bow at the ready, her heart pounding in her chest. Some were passing through, their eyes filled with a distant sorrow. Others looked upon her with a hunger that made her skin crawl. But not all who came were harbingers of fear. There were travelers, weary from their journeys, seeking only a moment's respite. They came with open hands, offering stories and songs in exchange for a night's shelter. These encounters, though fleeting, brought a spark of warmth to her solitary existence. They reminded her that the world was not entirely consumed by darkness. There was still kindness to be found, even in the most unexpected of places. The idea of alliances had begun to surface in the whispers on the wind. Word traveled of groups banding together, sharing resources and knowledge, their combined strength a bulwark against the encroaching darkness. Part of her scoffed at the notion. For so long, she had relied solely on herself. Trust was a luxury she could ill afford. To place her fate in the hands of others seemed reckless, a betrayal of everything she had been taught. Yet, the seed of doubt had been planted. Could she truly stand alone against the rising tide? Was her solitary existence a strength or a weakness in disguise? The question lingered in her mind, a persistent hum that she couldn't ignore. She found herself staring at the horizon more often, searching for answers that seemed just out of reach. One day, a figure appeared on the horizon, his silhouette familiar and welcome. It was a fellow archer, a childhood friend who had often shared her watch in years past. He spoke of the alliance, his voice filled with a quiet passion that caught her attention. He spoke of shared burdens, of the strength found in unity. He spoke of a future where they no longer had to face the darkness alone. His words resonated within her, stirring a flicker of hope that she had long kept buried. He didn't dismiss her fears, but instead acknowledged the risk inherent in trust. He spoke of shared values, of a common purpose that transcended individual fears and doubts. He didn't offer her empty promises, but a hand of friendship, a pledge of solidarity. Her heart, so accustomed to the cold grip of solitude, began to thaw. His words were a balm to her weary soul, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could still bloom. As she looked at her old friend, she saw not just a comrade, but a reflection of her own longing for connection. She saw the strength in his eyes, a strength born not of solitude, but of shared purpose. And for the first time, She felt a willingness to let go of her fear, to embrace the possibility of a different future. The sun rose, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, a symbol of new beginnings. It illuminated the faces of her fellow archers, their eyes filled with a shared determination. The weight on her shoulders, the burden she had carried for so long, began to lift. It was not gone entirely. She knew there would still be challenges ahead. But now, she faced them not as a lone sentinel, but as part of something larger than herself. The wind whispered through the grass, no longer carrying the chill of solitude, but the warmth of camaraderie. This was a new dawn, a new chapter, and she, the lone archer, was no longer alone.